Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're coming in from today. Welcome to another edition of the LED webinar series. My name is Manny, and today we're going to be talking about the volunteer experience with LED. With us, I have Adil Dalal, who is the current chair of the division, and then we have the incoming chair as well, Frank Murdoch. And these are both people who have been around the society for a long time. Adil, Frank, do you want to say hello before we get started? Maybe give us a bit about your background or pertinent information. Adil, why don't you start?
Yeah, I'm the chair of the main division. I've been with ASQ for years, maybe more. I've lost the chair of the HDMR division. I really am very proud of this team. LED is doing some amazing stuff, and really trust the team very well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Frank, real quick.
Yeah, Frank Murdoch, Chair-elect of the Lean Enterprise Division. Very happy to be here. Coming to you from Ann Arbor, Michigan, where summer has begun. And on the board of directors, Trey has served in a number of different capacities. And I'm really excited to be able to share these volunteer opportunities with you today.
Basically, I'll tell you what, I've been a volunteer now for about 6.5 years. So just from my personal story, I've learned that if I join an organization, if I don't get involved, like getting a newsletter every month or every quarter, I don't feel very engaged. The way to get engaged is to come. In fact, I'm just realizing this now, one of the easiest ways to get engaged with a division is to attend a division management committee meeting. They're once a month and they're open to everyone. Maybe do that. Check out, see who's working to help LED grow, stay strong and grow. And also, too, you can then see some of the activities we're involved in. I've got some factoids here, but when you hear the report outs and the discussion, it makes a big difference. So, roughly speaking, these are the things we're going to be talking about today. Right now, we're in development of purpose phase. So, we're going to talk a little bit about why people volunteer, how much time it takes, some of the opportunities that we have. I'm going to walk you through a webinar example to show you the entire process to put it on a webinar and for the opportunities to help. Now, I tell you, I became webinar chair because I wanted to learn how to edit video. And I knew if I tried to watch YouTube, I could practice with my software of choice. But I knew if I was forced to do it, I would learn it. And folks, for better or worse, I know enough about editing to be able to say, look, I can take that and turn it into something that's better. Can't say it's very good, but I can at least say it's better than the raw recording. That's an example of personal growth for me. So what's LED all about? It's one of the, Frank, if you have information on this, please jump in and let me know, because frankly, I can't see you. So you're just going to have to interrupt me, unfortunately.
No, those numbers are correct. It vacillates. So over 8,300 members worldwide. I'm not sure how many countries. The last time I checked, there were like 40 different countries represented, which to me is it's pretty impressive.
So what's the deal here? Nobody at LED gets paid, right? We are all volunteer. And one of the things that we've heard from the outreach, from the conferences, from seeing prospective members is they're not quite sure how to get started. So that's why we wanted to do this. And this actually, I'm thinking it's going to be an annual event, just because we're always getting new people coming in. Today, we're just trying to help find one thing to do. And I'm a big fan of the phrase, many hands make work light. Okay, I've done webinars by myself, and let me tell you, I've learned again and again how easy it is to do a crappy job. Just give me more to do. And the quality is practically guaranteed. Not to mention the burnout. And that's really what people are always afraid of. So we thought we'd open up the curtain a little bit and tell you really what's involved. And to be honest with you, the short story is it's not a lot of time. We know it's a volunteer position. So we set them up that way, and you'll see. So anyway, our goal here would be for you to leave with a next step to say, hey, I want to raise my hand. I'm interested in learning more about this particular opportunity. So let's take a look and see what some of the things are going on. Frank, I don't know if you want to jump in on any of this, but let's kind of go through this otherwise. You've been heavy. Let me ask this. Hang on a second. You've been a heavy volunteer since I've known you. So talk to me about that. What does it do for you? What do you get out of it? How long does it take?
Well,
I know that you're probably heavier than most because you're involved in more initiatives than most.
yeah. But at the same time, like, I can't overemphasize what you said earlier, is breaking the work down into smaller elements that are more digestible. Generally speaking, spending 1 or 2 hours a month attending a meeting, for instance, if you're a subject matter expert panel, there may be a monthly meeting, plus there may be another hour or so of review stuff that you work through on your own time. And that's kind of how I got started. I just raised my hand and they I asked about voice of the customer, right? And because I was at a conference, World Conference in Orlando, my first conference, and a general meeting, and they were just talking about their business plan. I asked, how do you know what the members want? I left the meeting, it was the voice of the customer chair, which is one of those things that, and it was a position that didn't exist before. So in many cases, you have the opportunity to shape it, not only to the needs of the organization, but also to accommodate what you can do. I think that's the important thing in terms of what this slide is speaking to with volunteering. Fits into your life because like other things on the job site, right? But she's able to participate. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do appreciate her being able to connect. So anyway, so why should you volunteer? You joined ASQ and you joined LED for a reason. It's obviously these are topics you're interested in. So to volunteer is to really, I think, get more interested and more interesting in the work that we're doing because it's a lot of things, right? I joined to learn how to video edit, also to get to meet people. I've got a pretty big network now because of my activities, various committees, webinars, those sorts of things. I'm also of an age where I thought it was time to give back, and I really thought that was a good idea. I've noticed that a lot of people that are getting ready to slow down in the workforce and to ramp up their ASQ activities because they have the time to do it now. That's certainly one of the things that I'm looking at. I'm trying to balance that with my next transition. But anyway, so no big deal. You can earn or use it if that's important, but you're certainly going to build skills. So for me, we've got some younger volunteers, newer to the workforce. And one of the things that I really love about them is that they're so enthusiastic and enthused and ready to learn. If you understand what I do, maybe you learn what not to do, but that's still learning of the sort. So that's good. And of course, spreading the gospel of lean, which is so important to people like you and Frank as well, right?
One of the other things I found people are interested is sharing their stories because lean is so adaptable to so many different contexts, organizational contexts, that every story is unique and has some value for others. And best practices come from that. And just being able to collaborate, ask questions, and get ideas on how to apply lean principles and methods.
Sure, absolutely. It is a great way to do those sorts of things. So let's talk a little bit about what volunteer work occurs and what categories is it in. Like you can see content and knowledge, we've got events. There's also connecting with members, promotion and outreach, and a little care and feeding of the division itself, infrastructural leadership. So how do we stay strong and grow while doing good things? You can see perhaps some of the different roles that are underneath these different verticals, if you will. And we'll be talking about some of those a little bit later on. So, but you can see whatever your interest, whatever your skill level, there's a place for you in LED if you want. So I'm going to speak a little bit about webinars because that's something that I know pretty well. And in fact, I developed all this documentation, so I know it really well. And let me tell you, it's just not fun, and it does lead to burnout. So that is one of the things we absolutely don't want to do. We don't want to leave anyone on feeling like they're carrying the load by themselves. So just keep that in mind.
Yep.
Let's take a look at what that looks like. Okay, there. Okay, so now you can see, by the way, for everything is layer aside, POC stands for supplier input process output customers. And it's a document that we use to help break down and analyze a situation or a process to understand some of the key components. At the bottom of that is this overall process flow. And so you can see for webinars, first thing we do is schedule a speaker on a topic. And since I'm involved in the site, it's not that difficult. People actually end up coming to me, hey, I'd like to speak this. My criterion is if it's a topic of interest to LED members, then it's fair game. It does not have to be a lean topic. We've been talking about AI lately, and we've talked about business writing, and we've talked about building a personal brand in the past, but it has to be of interest to members. And then we have to schedule and promote. Here's where we are in the middle: host the webinar and manage the audience. And then we send the recording and the REUs along with next month's event. And then to tie off the knot, we edit the video. I edit the video and post it up on YouTube. You can see it's not that difficult, and it's pretty finite. In fact, I think I mentioned I'm scheduled through 2026. I'm starting with 2027 now. Whatever your interest, whatever your time, this process can accommodate it. If I had another earlier, I'd be able to put all the links in the chat like I wanted to, or the other way around, right? It doesn't really matter. And what I'm trying to do is develop a team that there's backup, but you don't feel like you have to be there by hosting a webinar when you're on vacation, right? There should be backups for those things. So you can see here, I broke down some of the high level tasks that occur from 30 to 60 days. I'm actually a little ahead of this in terms of scheduling, but no big deal. Very simple. We need 5 things: information about the webinar, bio, headshot, release. And then we create the event and then promote the event. And there's actually people on the social media side of LED that do that. So I'll generally send them the link and they take it from there and post it on LinkedIn as well as my ASQ. I know that a lot of the activities go in my local section's newsletter. And I think each one of these steps by itself takes very little time. When you have to do them all, that's a different story. Isaac, yes, go ahead. You have a question or comments, please.
Many, since these are almost new to me, I just wanted to know if on average, what's the participation rate for these webinars?
If you'll give me a minute, I will pull you up my results because, as Frank knows, I have been tracking this. So this is our schedule, and I can show you previous years as well. But a question there. So let me see. Get back to where I was. There. So that was just for the year, but I've been tracking it since 2023. All right. So after the event itself is over, there's still a little bit of work to be done, right? It's we ship the product, great, but there's the rest of it, right? It's all going to get clear off. So what we do with the post event is, and I do this, I'll register for a webinar that I can't make, knowing that I'm going to get the raw recording or a transcript or something, right? So I can get a summary. You get 5. I edit the video, post to YouTube, and then the social media team actually is sending out the notices, advertising the video in next month's event. This is not what one person does. This is what occurs to support a webinar. Hey, you don't like webinars? I get it. Not for everybody. There's lots of things that you can do. And you can see here a list. We are heavily involved in content creation and promotion. And in fact, I was working on a committee with Frank to create the lean body of knowledge. And I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, Frank, but that was a lot of fun, to be honest.
And it's another great example of interacting as a team, putting together a document, a book published, describes the lean body of knowledge based on a model that we have, and we all took different sections of it, and then we all wrote the initial drafts based on our experiences, and then we shared it all, and everybody could comment on it. It's several months of work, but it was incremental work. We met on a regular monthly basis just to check on how we were doing. But it's a good process. It was definitely a peer-reviewed document at the end, and we all learned from it. So, yeah, it's just another reason.
And we even distributed that in hard copy as well as by link, at least one of the conferences. So,
Yeah,
no parties.
first it was distributed, and we also got it downloadable our ASQ library.
I like that better. And it was, I think, learning for everybody, and I think that's important. So we could use somebody, though, for instance, you like social media, post on the places you normally go anyway. That's a help. It saves somebody else from having to do it. And so one of the things that I would like to try to do is to match people to their natural roles. Okay? If you like to write, then of course there's opportunities for education and content. We need somebody who can outreach to new members, right? Have you ever joined an organization and you got the canned welcome email and then nothing else? Okay, so we're trying to change that at LED and make members actually feel welcome, not just say that they're welcome. So things along those lines. But we do events, we do conferences. If you're interested in the feedback piece, the voice of the customer, voice of the member, really. Of course, we're always developing content and really trying to make sure it's organized. People can access it. Now, when it comes to volunteering, some people have more time than others. Right. I'm a consultant. I work for myself, and therefore my time is my own. Actually, I work for my clients, and so therefore I can pick and choose what works for me. When I'm busy, I do less. When I've got free time, I do more. We've got suggestions for tasks and activities that range from 15 minutes to more than 2 hours, if you want. I tell people if it takes you more than 2 hours to do a typical thing every month, that's a problem. Okay, what we either need to do is to break up the task or streamline the task. We'll apply lean principles to it and make sure that it works for everybody. So you can see here some of their things. Being on a panel, and I'll show you some of those opportunities in a moment or two, is a great way to dip a toe in the water without taking on a monthly responsibility. But next, I know I've been in organizations before, and I'd be worried about getting stuck. Right? I don't want to get stuck doing this. I don't want to plan the PTA luncheon or a cookie sale or anything, right? Because it can be pain. Okay, here we are. How do you choose the right role? And it's based on you. What do you like? What do you want to improve? And how much time can you give? And so here are some examples. We're also starting a podcast series as well. And that also has various webinar and video possibilities and opportunities. So anyway, you can see here, depending on what you're interested in, we've got a slot for you because, as I mentioned, we're an active division. Now, here are some of the current needs across LED. We can see here, these I may have to react to if you can't see them very well. But one is looking for professional development digestion chair. And the idea is, how do we apply lean principles to ourselves? How do we eat our own cooking, in other words? Including creating the lean body balance, including running the division in a lean fashion. Which is to say that we don't waste people's time. We try to be as effective as possible. Just those sorts of improvement activities, right? If you're looking for improvement activities but you don't have the opportunity on the job, hey, you can get it here in the divisions, and we would welcome you.
One of that, for instance, is we recently developed an AI chair to help with the standards chair, which we're also looking for somebody for that too. It's not on this list. But if somebody was interested in applying various AI tools to help make the volunteer experience easier and better. One of the simple things we're looking at is how to take our work instructions, such as what Maddie showed you for webinars, put them in accessible form so it's more conversational and easier to understand.
We can discuss how to use AI responsibly We can show you how to use AI responsibly. And the sky's the limit there. I don't know. Anyway, how about we could use an awards and recognitions chair? This is not too difficult. I got to tell you. It's something I was actually thinking about applying for when I'm done with webinars. Because basically they're looking at recommending LED members for fellow nominations and other recognition opportunities like the Wayne Pabst Award, which LED gives annually. And it's just, how do we recognize people for the things they do? And it maybe even goes beyond awards and rewards. Maybe it's any good person did a great job in some other aspect, maybe work, maybe not work. But how can we recognize people's contributions to society, the society, but also to society at large?
A great example of how if someone is interested, they can add value to the position, do something that we haven't done before. So that's a great example of that.
And then you could end up having a committee, really, right? That was the point. But that makes it even easier.
In that particular case, they do rely on the committee for peer reviewing for the Wayne Pabst Award, which is awarded for the best public article published throughout the year. And that's the intention of that award, is to encourage people to submit articles for publication.
Got it. Okay. So, Frank, you give us just one more anecdote.
A subject matter expert panel member is another great example of how I mentioned it earlier, how that contributes. Particularly if you've got an area of expertise that you've taught or written about or presented the webinar, we rely on the subject matter experts for peer review to update our education and training offerings, such as the Lean Essentials, the e-learning our 6 modules are self-paced e-learning, or the Lean Foundations. There's 3 workshops there that we developed, need to be updated. And that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at this year, is how do we freshen the educational offering?
And one of them is that of its treasurer. We need a responsible person to manage the budget and make sure that payments are made and tracked according to society standards. Not that difficult. And I've no doubt that we have people who can show you exactly how to do that if that's something that you're interested in doing. So there are some of those roles like that. If you've ever been a section treasurer, it's about the same. There's a couple times a year when there's some financial activity that is more intense. Oh, we're having an event and we've got some invoices, or we've got some reimbursements or things along those lines. But most of the time it's really no big deal. So I'll call that one in particular. It's 2 hours a month on average with some peaks. So likewise, publications chair, getting firmly back into the content and really just looking at, so that's supposed to be published as LED content provided to SMEs. And that's the idea. We certainly wouldn't expect the publications chair to do everything, but we might expect them to be the first point of contact and the person who's knowledgeable about the status of publications. And then if we get a lot of activity there, put together a team and people, again, take that small piece that they're looking for. Or that's easy to do at lunch, easy to do after work, do on a weekend, whatever your preferred time is. And we get that you're all volunteers. So a couple of suggestions here. If this is at all of interest to you, then please feel free to choose one small next step. Identify something that interests you. Reach out for more information. We'll be happy to talk to you and answer any questions, maybe do a dialogue day in the life of, and show you what it's like when we do some of this stuff. If you want, I have to connect with you while I'm editing my next video and you can see how I do it. Also, try a small task. There are no leg irons in that division. We can say, darn, I don't like this. Sorry, Manny, I'm done. Okay, no harm, no foul. See you at the next conference. Okay? So I said this before and I'll say this again. Many hands make work light and enjoyable. Not to mention the fact you get to learn a lot and grow as an individual and a professional. For free. But how big a deal is that? So the next steps, really, we're going to continue talking about some of the opportunities that exist, and we'll also have plenty of time to take your questions. But if you want a next step, here you go. Reach out to you or to Frank, and they can get you pointed in the right direction. Failing that, what I'll do is I will give you my email address, and you can always reach out to me too. I love talking to practitioners and peers because I'll learn something. You'll learn something. Maybe you'll learn what not to do because it didn't work for me. But in any event, you'll learn something. So, Frank, you were at the last conference, right? Can you talk about that for a minute, perhaps?
Yeah, sure. The World Conference in Orlando. There were almost over 1,800 people attending. Wow. It was wild. A lot going on.
Okay.
They were interested in working with the SMEs based on their experience, which is great.
Honestly, when I look at the network that I've accumulated just from being part of ASQ, just being a member wasn't enough. It was actually being an involved member that made the difference. And think about it. I've hosted more than 75 webinars. So that's at least 65 new people that I've met, among other things. So I see Christian's asking, is there any way to get an email list of opportunities? I'm definitely interested in helping out. So that would probably be a good time to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share this tab instead. And this is something that I put together to help for various reasons. It wasn't just for this webinar, but this is a working document that you use. And I'll go through some of this. I'm not going to stop and let you read every word on everything because you don't necessarily need to. But here's an example of what was that going on. Publications by Eastern Chair. He talks about what they're responsible for, and it indicates if the position is open or not open. And these are just some of the things in our management structure that we've got. Again, if you said, hey, I'm only interested in posting on social media, great. We can get you on that committee and be with like-minded people who hopefully learn each other's jobs so that when somebody goes on vacation, you don't have the single point of failure. Is another one. So, I know a lot of people call it primer. Primer is what goes on the wall before paint. But a primer is a body of knowledge. And this is something that we're very heavily involved in right now. Okay. By the way, if you wonder in Mania, you're right, that's a Zenro film. Anyway, so the primer chair is responsible for creating authors and really publishing these, I don't want to call it how-to, but a body of knowledge type documents or plan, and it includes recruiting subject matter experts. So especially if you're young in the field and you'd like to learn more, what a great opportunity to reach out to some of the leaders in your field and start talking to them about their ideas or maybe a short commitment of time. In some cases, we'll call subject matter experts together for a meeting, pick their brain. Hey, what do you think this topic should be? And okay, thank you very much. I'll let you know the next time we have something filling up. It can be that light and easy, but also meaningful.
I just am responding to one question with regard to somebody's interested in assisting with AI, that whether the monthly fees for things like ChatGPT or Claude are covered, and they're not. We're all just volunteers at this point. We have access to, it doesn't mean that in the future we couldn't manage a subscription if we find a platform that's particularly useful, but I also want to point out that Q has AI agent Quincy, and we're going to be exploiting that to the great extent possible, and that is available free to all ASQ members.
Because, again, one of the things society does is it leans on the SMEs that are on its membership roles to do some of these things. So I thought it was really enjoyable. Anyway, so let's see where we are.
So if people are interested, you can peruse it on their own with the additional interest.
So anyway, here, we talked a little bit about this. If you've ever wanted to get involved in streaming but didn't know how, it's actually easy. You go over to YouTube right now and click start streaming. Back there, of course, you've got to have 100 subscribers and blah, blah, blah. But when you do it for LED, no problem. We can get you started pretty quickly. And so really the idea is just that we need somebody to help coordinate webinars and podcasts because they're almost the same thing. right? And in fact, there are factions who believe they are the same thing. It's just, do you have a continuous host or do you have different speakers every month? But that's a possibility. Webinar host. Now, sure, it's currently filled by one person, but that person travels. They go on vacation. So would it be nice to have a co-host so that no one person feels the pressure of having to, as Hazaday did, sorry, client, you're going to have to go on hold while I do this. I will tell you that I really enjoy talking to people and getting different points of view and really learning about things I never would have known otherwise. So let's see here. Okay. Likewise, podcast host. Currently, we've got Dr. DeLo on there. However, you saw the deal. He popped in and left because, oh, wait, he's got other commitments to 5 clients. So it would be great to have a stable of 2 or 3 people at least in front of the microphone and also 2 behind the scenes to help make sure all the stuff gets done. Because if you've ever watched podcasts and they're switching content, yes, somebody's doing that. And it's certainly not the people that are speaking. So there are behind the scenes roles as well. And that's interesting if you want to get to know a little bit more about technical aspects of being of podcasting. I'll tell you, when I first started, I had no concept of lighting or microphones or anything else. And being forced to do it helped me learn an awful lot. We mentioned this one earlier. I don't feel we need to say too much about it again. But again, what we're trying to do is develop members. And that's important. Why do people join the society? They join for different reasons. Sometimes it's to network. Sometimes it's to grow into a position that they've got. And this position helps make sure that people have the opportunities to do what they want and need to grow as people and employees. And likewise, education and training. And there's some overlap between these, which means there's some coordination, which means that it's even a little bit easier for you. So with the education and training chair, it does just that. For instance, we started doing a hands-on 2-hour lean workshop at the Lean Six Sigma conference and provides other learning experiences as appropriate. Some of them are in person, some of them are online, some of them are still to be developed. So we're looking for those sorts of things. You could be a co-chair, or you could be on this committee. It's whatever your passion is. Whatever your passion is, we'll figure out how to put you in that spot. We mentioned this, the LBOC, we call it, the Lean Enterprise Body and Knowledge Chair. And this is one of those things we wrote an original document. Now that could be revised, but we can also add to it because lean thinking, it goes well beyond the factory floor. It goes well beyond offices. They recommend LED members for AST fellow nominations and recognizes them. Also recruits 2 SMEs to select individuals for the Wayne Pabst Award that Frank mentioned earlier. So again, do a little bit, do it when you can over the month, and go to deal. This is possibly one of the easiest ways to get it. That's just volunteer to be on an SME panel. And they could do different things. The LBOC chair is going to be talking to people about what's going to be in the next body of knowledge. He's going to be talking to the subject matter expert panel. Communications include social media. So if you're already in these sorts of places that we want to promote LED stuff, that would be an easy one, right? And mostly LinkedIn, my ASQ, and whatever places are up and coming. Pick one of these that you like, and then we can go through and go after it. We can try it and see if you like it. Take on more responsibility, if less. It depends on your interest and the time available.
So many of these chair positions have a committee opportunities underneath them. If there's, like mainly with tech, if you're interested, that's a perfect way to get started because we can build a pipeline that way. People, they become familiar with the process and it's an easier transition into it.
What we'd like to do is to be at least 2 deep in every position, that the fate of the world is not depending on one person and their work schedule. Obviously, if we have the more people that we have within reason to work on a committee or a particular role, then the easier it is for each of the individuals.
Yeah, an interesting thing.
Yes. This is the AI workflow chair, and again, brand new. What did it do? We're not sure. It's related to AI, but Is it going to get into ways to use it? Is it going to help people use it better? Are we going to research ways of using AI and Lean? I know that's part of it. I know because I've been participating in those discussions. And it turns out that you can use AI, but if you use it using Lean methods, know your goal. Answer the 5 W2H. If you're writing a prompt, that you contain the who, what, when, why, where, how much, how often, how bad kind of information for a complete prompt. Right? Lousy prompts get lousy responses. That's the one thing I've learned. Better prompts get better responses. That committee has the opportunity to work on all that stuff. And I'm excited by it. That's like going through the Sears catalog when I was a kid. Oh, one thing. All right, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're coming in from. This has been yet another LED webinar series offering, this time on volunteering, and I hope to see you at next month's webinar as well. Take care and safe travels wherever you're headed today.